Hi, and welcome everyone to our 75th episode of The Little Inside. Naturally, my name is still Tobi, and this week I'm going to talk a little bit about real life practice. So let's get started right after the intro. There's one very popular question that is often asked at our retreats here. That question is, how can I bring the practice into real life? So these are people who come to stay at our retreats and they do a little bit of practice and they really enjoy it. It's day 2, it's day 3, they feel relaxed, they feel at ease. And so when day 4 comes, the retreat will end. So they will go back home after day 4. And so on day 2 or day 3, they usually start to worry a little bit about how they will be able to practice when they're back home in their challenging life situations. And then they think of bringing the practice into real life, very often in the context of real life being difficult, being challenging, being hard, being tough, and so forth. And so in this video, I'm going to talk a little bit about this idea of real life that we have and reflect a little bit on that. So what do we actually mean by real life? What is real life? Very often people put the retreat life, which is nice, easygoing, relaxing, you don't have many duties, you can just take care of being still with yourself, relaxing, practicing meditation. There's not many responsibilities that you have other than looking after yourself, caring for yourself, relaxing, letting go, being peaceful, blissing out. So that is retreat life, right? It appears almost like it's this kind of bubble in which I'm living for 4 days and then I go back home into my actual life, the real life. And very often I notice that this comparison is going on very often between a nice life situation, holidays, relaxation, enjoying yourself, all that, the pleasant stuff. That doesn't seem to be considered as being real life too. Have you noticed that? We consider that almost like it's something that's fake. It's not quite real. It's not quite my ordinary life. It's something out of the ordinary. It must be something out of the ordinary since I'm really enjoying myself. It's pastime. It's like something nice. We're enjoying ourselves. We're on a holiday. And so that isn't really real life. For most people, what means real life, it seems to be the grind, the tough stuff, the city life, the noisy neighbors, the busy streets, rush hour, going to traffic, having to work a 9-to-5 job in an office that you hate and so forth. And that seems to be real life. Another example very often is, it's not called real life, but it's often called facts, is when we read a newspaper. At least when I was a bit younger, people would then say that it's a fact because it's written in the newspaper. So there was this great credibility to a newspaper. I'm not quite sure if that's still the case nowadays. I'm not a big newspaper reader myself. But I think there's a bit of the credibility of the newspaper has faded a little bit. Maybe. I'm not sure about it. But at least when I was younger, that was still very much the case, that you have read it in the newspaper, so it must be absolutely true. And what we read in newspapers is mostly really dreadful stuff, right? It's all these bad stories, the mistakes, the accidents, the dead people, the earthquakes, and all that kind of stuff that happens around the world. All these things that are unpleasant, right? And so here again, there's this parallel to the other example that I just gave of holiday and work. Considering work, the grind, the unpleasant stuff, to be more real than when you're actually enjoying yourself, when you're on a holiday, when you're looking after yourself and so forth. Similarly, considering the gruesome news of a newspaper, for example, to be more real than some nice news that you might get, like, I don't know, a charity event or something. But it's kind of, it has a less important impact on our mind. There's less emotional charge behind it very often. Maybe that's one of the reasons why we perceive it as being less real. However, no matter what is at the base of this assumption that real life is something that is tough, that is challenging, that is bad in some way. Regardless of that assumption, let's just have a look at what is real life? What is life? Right? So here it's quite a difficult question, really. It's something that I find I cannot really solve this question by thinking about it. Because no matter how I think, it's some way of thinking that I have learned previously. And so it's kind of biased, it's not really trustworthy. So in order to really know what life is, I kind of have to experience it. I have to connect with it. And connecting with life is the next kind of challenge. When I connect with my life, what am I connecting to? Well, what is there that I can call life, actually? So, well, I feel feelings. I feel my body. There's a heartbeat. The lungs are pumping air in and out of the body. Then there's a feeling of warmth in the body. These are all feelings, right? Then there are thoughts. There's mental activity. There's emotional states. Also constantly moving. So there's this sensation of movement that is going on, the movements of feeling, the movements of temperature, the movements of the organs in the body, digestion, and so forth, all that. When I'm paying attention to that, I could consider this to be life. But I want to make it more simple, really. Maybe life is too much of an abstraction. It's like really speaking about a forest when there is not really any forest there, only a lot of trees. Forest is a word that labels a bunch of trees that are standing together, right? The word tree, again, labels a bunch of atoms that are sticking together. So it's kind of a word. Life might refer as well to just a bunch of processes that are operating together. So what then is real life? Well, real life, now to make it simple for this video, I really don't want to go too deep into philosophy and finding out what the word means and how it's defined and all that kind of stuff. To me, personally, when I talk about real life, I'm talking about what is going on right here, right now. So becoming aware of real life means that you become aware of the processes that are running right now, that are observable, discernible right here in this moment. So when I talk about real life practice, I'm referring to the practice that can be done here and now, in this very moment, with this very breath, this very perception, this very life circumstance. And since meditation practice is not just only limited to sitting cross-legged on a cushion for an hour or half an hour or 10 minutes every day, but it's very much also about what you do in between those practice times, in between those formal sessions. That matters a great deal. And so when I talk about real life practice, I'm talking about what are you doing right here, right now. And there are really three things that you can become aware of, or three actions that are going on right here, right now. Number one is your thoughts. What are you thinking about? Is what you're thinking about leading into negativity, into unpleasantness, both for yourself and others? Or is it leading in the opposite direction, into pleasantness and wholesomeness, both for yourself and others? Now, when you become aware of what you're doing mentally right now, then you have a fair chance to actually change that. You can transform an unwholesome, negative, harmful action into a positive, uplifting one. So that is an option that you have only when you become aware of what you're doing mentally to yourself right now. The same thing goes for speech. This is the second point. We can become aware every time we talk, what am I talking about right now? Am I repeating myself? Is it harmful talk? Is it talk that comes out of negative mental states such as anger or hatred? Then we can reflect on that. We can ask ourselves, well, if talk comes from anger or from jealousy or hatred, what will it possibly cause? What will it call into life? The third thing to watch out for is what we are physically doing right now. So becoming mindful of your physical actions. For example, if you help someone or you're smiling at someone else, that's a physical action. So all these three actions is something we become aware of right here and right now. And that's where, in my opinion, real life practice begins. So you become aware of what you are doing right here, right now. It can't get any more real than what is going on in this very moment right here, right now. In fact, if you're thinking about the future, then that's all that is. It's really just thinking. You can become aware that you're thinking about your future right now. Then it turns into real life practice. You notice, oh, right now I'm thinking about the future. How am I thinking about the future? Is it constructive? Is it wholesome? Is it beneficial? Or is it harmful? Is it negative? Is it diluted? And then we can let go of what is harmful and we can cultivate what is beneficial. But I want to take it one step further. Actually, instead of just constantly adjusting our actions, only adjusting our actions, there's another facet of the practice which is equally as important. It is seeing through the various processes right now in this moment. For example, if anger arises, if you learn to see through your anger, you understand your anger in terms of the three characteristics, which is impermanence, unsatisfactoriness, and not self, then you can let go of that very anger right now and here. You can literally unburden yourself. You can let go of what is inessential, not needed, what is leading to nothing but suffering with greater ease if you know how to become aware of yourself and how to let go of what is harmful, and on later stages even letting go completely. Every time you let go, there is a sense of freedom, of peace. Now when you stay in that peacefulness, when you let go of harm, when you let go of stress and tension in any form, dual stress and tension, that includes pleasure as well as pain. When you let go of all that, there is an immediate sense of freedom and peace. And it's something that we all can experience. And probably in the beginning, for short moments. The short moments of mindfulness that kicks in, short moments of awareness, where you notice that you are here as an observer rather than being completely lost in whatever process that is, you can say, blowing through the room of your mind or your consciousness. Think of your consciousness like a room. It has two windows, one on the left, one on the right. And both of these windows are open and various winds pass through this room. But if you close one of those windows, then the wind stays in the room. It's kind of trapped in the room. And that's what we are doing with mental states very often. We kind of dwell on them. We hold on to them. We don't let them go. Famous example, it's 2 a.m. at night and you're pondering about something that makes you feel wired and stressed out. Well, it's not the time for that, isn't it? It's not the time to feel stressed and worried and pain yourself and torture yourself with harmful thoughts. It would be the time to actually relax and sleep, right? But still we can't put our tools down. Thoughts are a bit like a tool. Okay, so if you have a lot of thoughts that are unnecessary, it's like someone that carries around their tool all the time. I'm carrying my sledgehammer into the shower, I'm carrying my sledgehammer into my bed, I'm carrying my sledgehammer and put it onto the breakfast table right in front of me, eating breakfast with my sledgehammer. I'm having conversations with other people holding on to my sledgehammer. Sledgehammer is a tool. You use it to build a fence, for example, and once you've built the fence or you did your work for that day, you put down the tool. And that's precisely the problem that many people have. They're unable to put down the tool of their thoughts. And so that's a very, very good and direct real-life practice. Put down these burdensome thoughts about past and future and speculation and this and that and just pure randomness. Put it down when you don't need it. Well, if you're unable to do that, that's a clear sign that there's room for practice. There's room for improvement, right? And we all have that. So that's why we practice meditation. That's why we do real life practice. Right here in this moment, we let go of what is painful, what is harsh, what is tense, what is creating suffering and trouble. You can let go of it right here and now. Now that is what I call real life practice. Real life practice, I don't think, is a practice that is supposed to happen sometime during the next days or in the next week somehow, and now you need to worry just enough to make sure that you will practice next Monday or something like this. That's not really necessary. What's necessary would be to let go of worry, stress, and suffering, of pain, right here and now, and to develop all the skills that it takes to accomplish this in a proficient manner. So that's all that comes to mind for this week. I hope it was useful, as usual. If you do have any questions or want to comment on that video, feel free to write it down below. I'm always happy to read your comments. And well, I'm looking forward to see all of you again next Wednesday for the next little insight. And for now, I say goodbye.